Welcome to Tales from the Trenches Tuesdays. Today, it is my absolute honor to have Lynne Wester on with me. For those of you who don't know, I'm a bit of a fan of Lynne. I write about her all the time in my blog, and I think that I'm so honored to have her here. So Lynne strongly believes that donor relations is the key to unlocking fundraising success, and that organizations must be dedicated to the donor experience, or as some folks call it, the DX, as they are to the ask itself. Known for positively disrupting the status quo, Lynne helps organizations when they need it the most, when crisis or opportunity arrive. Lynne and her teammates at the DRG partner with nonprofits large and small on a variety of initiatives, from developing sound strategy and vision to utilizing technology and creating meaningful donor engagement, all designed to positively impact the fundraising bottom line. In addition, she is a passionate advocate for diversity, equity, inclusion, access, justice, and belonging, especially in the fundraising and nonprofit sector. Lynne regularly contributes to national publications such as the Washington Post, the Chronicle of Philanthropy, and Case Currents as a subject matter expert. She's a 4-time author and has contributed to 2 other books. She also hosts the #1 podcast in the world, Fundraising is Funny, alongside Clay Buck. Lynne delivers thought-provoking fundraising lessons with keen focus on the donor experience, internationally known as the industry expert on donor relations. Her Southern accent and crucial honesty resonate in large rooms and in small ones. Lynne received her BA from the University of South Carolina, holds a master's in strategic fundraising and philanthropy, and proudly sports a doctorate from Disney Institute. She volunteers at many nonprofits and serves on the University of South Carolina board. So it's interesting that, you brought up your folks, and, one of the things that I talk about is so many of our experiences as a fundraiser is kind of based on our childhood and how fundraising was spoken about or not spoken about, as the case may be. So tell me, how was it growing up in your neck of the woods?
Yeah, so both my parents are adopted. They come from very humble beginnings. My dad was he did not have a set. He was food insecure, would be the modern term,
right,
that they would use for it, and he was unhoused a lot. He worked his way up, and education is what really helped my parents. And so we never talked formally about charity and money, but we talked about giving, which is why I like generosity.
Yes.
So down to, we had my parents are magazine people. We had magazines, and every magazine would get donated to the local library or the nursing home. So it was not just money, but it was time and resources. But the biggest lesson in life / charity / relationships that I learned was from my dad, and I talk about it a lot. I was a precocious 9-year-old. And my dad worked in food factories, and he was CEO of Planters, Peanuts, and things like that. And I went into the factory with him one Saturday morning after my mother had kicked us kids out of the house, as she had every right to do. My dad, we walked in the factory, and the first person my dad encountered was the janitor. And he stopped, and he had a very long conversation with him, and then we moved on to go play in his office, where the cool things were, like whiteboards and copy machines and other things I could, and I, being myself, was like, why did you talk to him, Dad? He's the janitor.
Right.
And my dad stopped me right there. And in the South, we have this expression, he jerked a knot in me, meaning he gave me the what for. And he said, let me tell you something. Number one, I used to be the janitor. So don't you ever look down on another person for earning a solid living.
Right.
And number two, if you want to learn something about a place you work, about a business, about anywhere, the janitor knows everything. He goes, that man has my utmost respect. He knows that I care about him. I care about his family. I want to make sure that he's treated with dignity. He goes, I will fire someone on the spot if they treat him poorly.
Wow.
He goes, I don't care who they are. He goes, so don't you ever look down at a janitor. Don't you ever look down at the person who cleans your floors, or, and don't ever think that you are better than someone else because of where they are in their life.
Right.
And I'll never forget that conversation. He knew that man. He knew his family. And my dad, frankly, would rather have hung out with the janitor than the executives that he was forced to hang out with. He had a lot more in common with him.
Right.
And all throughout my career, whether it was working at Disney, and Disney will tell you that the most important person that works at Disney is custodial, the people that clean. They have the most guest contact.
Right.
They are essential to the enterprise. And all throughout my career, when I would do events, the people that I treated the best were the facilities and the guys who did the unloading and the girls who did, the admin assistants and the people that other people overlooked.
Right.
And so my life lessons about generosity were also, even if you don't have, you give because you have more than someone else.
Wow.
So, that's kind of been ingrained in me, just to be a generous person in general.
Yeah.
And to also just be very cognizant of how you treat other people.
Yeah. Wow. That's a pretty impressive life lesson. I strongly believe, and at least in Canada, a lot of the evidence is there that those at the lower end give away more as a percentage of their income. It may not be dollars and cents as big as, Mr. Gates, but based on what they're earning, it's certainly a bigger percentage of what
Absolutely. So in the United States, the billionaires give about 0.8% of their worth away, and those beneath the poverty line, which in America is about $19,000 a year, give 3.7%.
Yeah.
The poorer you are, the more generous you are. And as you pointed out, the dollars and we judge people in fundraising based on how much they give, which I find disgusting and sickening.
Yeah.
Because the most generous people are making sacrificial gifts. It just doesn't amount to a lot of money.
Right. Right. And at the end of the day, they should feel absolutely great about what they're doing.
And our job is to make them feel great.
Yeah.
There's this debate going on right now in the Chronicle and other sources about this donor who, all he wanted was a sincere and genuine thank you for his giving. And there's this debate in our industry about, donors want too much. And I run a small nonprofit and I don't have time to do that. And, giving you a receipt and a thank you takes away from, my projects and things like that. And I'm like, I'm sorry, but if you cannot give somebody who is generous a simple receipt and a thank you, then close your doors. It's not your money. You're not entitled to it. They don't have to give it to you. And if they want something as unreasonable as a piece of gratitude, who am I to deny them that? And who are we to judge people for wanting to feel good about what they're doing? And so there's these editorials going back and forth and this social media debate about, well, we can't make donors feel like they're heroes. And yes, but 40% of the population doesn't give at all.
Right. Right.
So can we at least be nice to the 60% that does? And if you as a nonprofit cannot give gratitude, then check what you're doing.
Most definitely. I kind of equate it back to like birthday gifts, right? If you get a birthday gift, you thank someone for it.
Yes.
It doesn't need to be a huge, I think about it as a kid, if I didn't thank my grandparents if they gave me a gift, and if I didn't do it quick enough, my goodness, everyone in the world would hear about it. But you learn, that's just proper etiquette.
It is, but I don't know why we're having this debate. You know what I mean? And I understand that our nonprofits are under-resourced and our nonprofits are struggling and things like that. But it's just common human decency.
Yeah. No, I think that kind of thanking needs to be prioritized.
Right?
And you can't necessarily show the dollars and cents, but you can certainly show it in the long term and say, wow, they stuck with you, as opposed to that donor churn where they just said, okay, very nice. They didn't love me. I'm going to go somewhere else that might love me.
And I just think it's unreasonable to vilify a person who says, I gave you monetary resources. Could I please have a thank you?
Right.
I've given much less and people have thanked me for much more, So I just don't know why that is so unreasonable at this point. And that's one of those principles upon which I stand. Being an uncomfortable leader is saying to someone who says, you know, it's unfair of a donor to expect that or to want that, I'm like, but it's their money and they get to choose if they give it or not. And
Right.
you get to choose if you thank them or not, but then they're going to make a choice.
100%.
Right?
Yeah.
So, yeah. And it doesn't take the joy out of giving that I want to be thanked. And customer service is good business. That's why the businesses do it.
Right.
You know?
Right.
So, yeah.
Well, Lynne, this has been absolutely an eye-opener. I think that what you boil stuff down to is just common sense things, right? Like there's nothing that we've kind of talked about that is, you know, rocket science that you need to have, you know, a neurological degree in. It's just treating people decently and honestly and frankly. And I think that, you know, that will go such a long way.
And I think building relationships takes that, right?
Yeah. If folks wanted to get hold of you, how would they go? What's the best way of going about that?
Sure. Donorrelations.com. Really easy. Or they can reach out on social at Donor Guru. LinkedIn, just search my name. I'm there. I love to connect. You can follow our podcast at fundraisingisfunny.com. It's on Spotify and Apple and all the others. Come have a laugh with us. We love to laugh. We're not trying to do anything serious.
Right.
We're literally there to laugh about the nutsiness that is fundraising. So come join us and have a chuckle some morning. It's 20 minutes of your life that hopefully you'll at least laugh half of that. So we believe in it.
Exactly. Thank you so much, Lynne.
Oh, thanks so much, Jack.
Hi, folks. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button right here.